This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Let's face it, life after service ain't always easy. Far too many veterans continue to struggle in silence. But you don't have to fight this battle alone, because we are here to help. This ain't no group therapy. It's the after party to the battle. Full speed ahead, after battle. Real thoughts, real stories, no BS.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Full Speed Ahead After Battle. As always, I am your host, Josh McKay. It is a September 29th. It's a warm evening here in North Texas. Hopefully this weather starts cooling down. It's supposed to be in the high 80s, low 90s the rest of this week. But, a lot of things going on in the world today. I've got a great guest on tonight. He's a Marine, so we'll take it easy with him. We'll enunciate. We'll take it slow. I think I brought some crayons for him, but I'm kidding, of course. A lot of things going on in the world, man. A lot of different events happening. I just don't even know what to say. Like I always say, there's three things that I don't like to get into: politics, religion, and her. So I'm not going to get in too deep on any of that. What I will say is that we need to pay attention to the real story. There's a lot of sleight of hand going on, a lot of look and sees and whatnot. But like I said, it's the end of September, and September was Suicide Awareness Month. And that's something that we do need to focus on, not just in September. While this month may come to an end, we need to continue the efforts when it comes to suicide awareness, especially with our veterans, especially with mental health as well. As I do say every show, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. So that means within the hour of this show, it is highly likely that one veteran does commit suicide during this show. So on the 22nd, as we say, that is the 22nd for the 22. That's your Battle Buddy check day. However, I encourage everybody to check on your Battle Buddies every single day, every week, every weekend, every night, no matter what it is. Don't wait until that 22nd. Don't wait until the Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's just get it done. A lot of things going on. Like I said last time, I am putting on an event for the district of VFW, District 21. It's going to be next April. Details to come. But it's going to be partnering with the Irreverent Warriors. We're going to put on a Battle Buddy Throwdown Cornhole Tournament. And that is going to be raising funds to assist with the veteran suicide and the mental health. So I'm happy, going to be working on that. That's going to be a lot of stuff coming. I'll bring more details as I get it. There's a lot of events going on right now while the weather is nice and cooling down. I know we just had a ruck this weekend in Fort Worth. A lot of my comrades went to. A lot of things going on there. Man, football last night. What? North Texas, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'll admit it till the day I die, right? Last night, our Cowboys were going in as the underdogs. They were not favored to win. Everybody in the world picked the Packers over them. But I tell you what, I tune in to watch football so I can watch football. I don't tune in to sit here and listen about, oh, man, they shouldn't have traded him. They should have kept him. They should have paid him more. Guess what? I don't care. They traded him. They made a decision. Was it the right decision? I don't think so. Of course, I don't. I think the only right decision is to get rid of Jerry Jones at this point. But our Cowboys are not going to win until that happens. But even that, his family's going to take over, and they're just as bad. But I digress. We are here tonight again with our special guest. I've got a lot of other guests coming up, but tonight it is Rich Brown. He is a Combat Service Disabled Marine Corps veteran. But once you talk to those Marines, it's once a Marine, always a Marine, right? He had a very healthy transition from what I was talking to him about when he left the service. He was already set up. He set himself up, and he became a success after the service, even before he left. So I'm happy to have him on because he'll be able to give some details on how he made that happen. He's also a gym owner. He does a lot of good work with our veterans and community people. Also the event director for GUIDON22. That is almost its own nonprofit, and we'll get more into that, but it's a 22-mile ruck carrying 22 pounds to honor those lost to suicide. So you can see why I have Rich on tonight. Like I said, great guy, and we're going to learn more about him. And so we will go ahead and get into our interview of the week.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Right. Rich, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I've only been doing this a few weeks, and you're one of the more successful veterans when I talk about transitioning. So I'm glad to have you on to share your story about that. And it seems like you got your hand in a lot of different cookie jars with things you got going on. So why don't you go ahead, tell our viewers a little bit about you and where you are, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Sure. So I joined the Marine Corps the day after my 17th birthday. I deployed, I shipped off to boot camp 4 days after high school graduation. Spent 8 years with the Marine Corps. 3.5 of those were a 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, deploying to Afghanistan and Iraq with them. And then I taught at the basic school in Quantico. Since then, Quantico is here in Virginia, the basic school. I put down roots here, started a family, started a business, and some things more successfully than others. But I started my first private security company 2.5 years before I got out of the Marine Corps because I knew I wouldn't be able to re-enlist. And that I've been very fortunate and grateful. And then recently, about 1.5 years ago, a good friend of mine has always talked about starting his gym. And so I finally pushed him and said, hey, when are we going to open that gym? And we started Honor Bound Fit in the parking lot of a Black Rifle Coffee here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, Memorial Day of 2024. And it's been off to the races ever since.
Man, that's awesome. It sounds like everybody gets started right around Black Rifle Coffee. So now sounds like you've definitely been busy, man. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. Like we discussed before the show, man, you set yourself up big before you even got out. And so unlike a lot of veterans, you tried to make a life for yourself, right? So let's talk about what was going through your mind, while you were getting out. Why did you get out? What did it look like? How did you set yourself up for that success you're just talking about?
Well, yeah, I certainly tried to set myself up. So my mother gave me a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was a freshman in high school, and quickly digested the book and decided, I don't want to be a part of somebody else's cash printing machine. I'm going to own my own. And that was probably going to be in software engineering or something like that. And then my sophomore year was 9/11. And so all those ideas about owning a business quickly went away, and I knew exactly where I was going to go and what I wanted to do, and enjoyed a good career in the Marine Corps. At the time of my life was 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. But unfortunately, I was blown up January 23rd, 2007 by a suicide VBID. Which resulted in traumatic brain injury. And about a year after I got stationed at Quantico, I was informed that I had a traumatic brain injury, and because of it, I would not be afforded the opportunity of leading troops in combat again. And so with that, that was a hard pill to swallow, to be told that, I wasn't going to be able to do the thing I loved doing most. I started thinking about my future and what I wanted to do. And I had already had quite a bit of success in private security as a 19-year-old bouncer out in Hawaii. And then, I started doing that again when I got to Quantico, because it's a real good way to meet people, to have a second job out in town. And I started getting recruited by other bar owners and managers to come run their security teams. And finally, I was working the door at one bar, and a bar owner approached me and said, "Hey, I want you to come lead my security team." And I said, "Well, look, I'm not ready to leave here just yet, but I could hire, train, schedule, and manage from a distance, and then I'll come by and quality check them." And so I started my first business in 2010, which was a little bit before I got out in 2012. And then that quickly evolved from just nightlife security to retail, and then government contracting, and then executive protection. And I was acquired by Aero Security, and after 4 years, I'd done about $1 million in sales that year. And about 8 years after that, we decided to split ways because we weren't headed in the same direction. And I started Leftwich Global Protective Services just after COVID.
Wow, man. So you like you said, you had that success. So I think that's what a lot of veterans struggle with, is coming out, is after everything that they've done in service, it's hard to go into working for somebody else, right? Somebody else that's making all the decisions and making the money. When we have that skill set, the different things that veterans do, no matter what branch, they have the skill set to be able to do it. So what would, with the success of your businesses and everything, what would you tell veterans that want to get into that entrepreneurship? What kind of skills from the service do they need to lean on to? What kind of, what help did you wish you had starting up a business? All that good stuff. What would you tell veterans who are looking to get out and start their own businesses?
Sure. Well, I had plenty of help. I wouldn't, I can't think of any help that I wish I would have had that I didn't have. There's plenty of organizations, and I built a team around myself and that kind of thing. But I would say the first thing that I would tell a group of veterans who are maybe sitting in TAPS or getting out of the service soon is think outside of your MOS, right? You have so many skills that apply to everyone within our community that aren't necessarily just for your trade, right? We learn leadership. We learn some form of logistics just by being in the service, right? And so your MOS doesn't have to dictate what you decide to do, whether it be working for someone else or working for yourself. I was speaking with someone recently, and I said, when I was teaching at the basic school, I didn't realize how, being a corporal teaching second lieutenants, you're learning customer service, right? Because you have to be able to tell these people that they're wrong in the most polite and professional way possible. And that's a lot of what customer service is learning exactly how to talk to people. And, precision in language is very important.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that don't understand the military, they think it's all yelling and you do what you're told, and up and down like that. But it's more to the communication aspect of it, right? Because you've got to, the upper people, you got to play the politics, when to say yes, when to say no, when to do your own thing. And then also, talking about looking outside your MOS, right? When I got out, I was a sonar technician working on the SQQ-15, the newest piece of sonar equipment that the Navy had to offer. And when I got out, I tried to go into fields like oil and gas here in Texas. And I'm thinking, okay, sonar on the water, similar to sonar on the ground, a little bit different math, right? Man, all I got told was, no, it's not the same. No, we can't hire you. No, you don't have the skill set. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I did for 8 years. How are you going to tell me that I can't figure out the math differently working sonar in the ground, right? So, I got a guest coming on in a couple of weeks. I'm excited to have, because they've kind of done like some corporate headhunting and stuff like that, but they're really well versed in resume writing and stuff like that. So we're going to be able to talk how, like you just said, how do you translate those skills as a team leader? When you're leading a patrol team, you're still leading a team. You're still providing communication. You're still working as a team, and just all kinds of different things like that. So, I think you're right on with that. Lean outside of the MOS. Just because you did one thing in the service doesn't mean that's what you got to do outside of it, right? You got a gym going on, corporate security, which is great, all that. So I tell you what, I know we just got started. We're going to take a quick break, show a quick video, and then we're going to come back with Rich, and we're going to talk some more about this gym of his and how we can help out the people. We'll be right back.
Everywhere I go, trouble seems to find me. There ain't no place that I fit in. Raised in the backwoods, and just like him, oh, I'm a fighting man. Well, I was born with a gun in my hand, child of this land. Lord, please save me from my sins, out here howling in the wind. Look to the west, see your seems to find me. There ain't no place that I fit in.
All right, welcome back to Full Speed Ahead After Battle. I'm your host, Josh McCabe. Along with me is Rich Brown, Marine Corps veteran, business owner, GUIDON22, doing all kinds of great things. But before we get back into our conversation, something I always forget, because I do this for other reasons, not to get rich and famous, but to make sure we get that message out there for our veterans. Because you never know, this one video may be the reason that a veteran keeps going, because they see it. We recently got a NBR radio, got a message from a veteran the other night, having a very rough night. He was going through his demons, dealing with those. He woke up in the middle of the night, wasn't sure what to do, had some bad thoughts, and he started Googling some veteran assistance, and NBR popped up in one of the shows he started listening to. And so he wrote in saying, thank you for bringing these shows out, helping him. That's what kept him going. So that's what we're here to do. The only way that we can keep doing that and getting that word out is if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see all the places you can find NBR radio, Roku, Fire TV, Instagram, Facebook, X, all that good stuff, on Spotify. You can find me on my Facebook page, Instagram. I share all that information. I'm on YouTube as well and Podbean. So after tonight, you'll be able to find tonight's episode on all those different things. So Rich, you like you just told everybody, you said, man, what's up with this gym? Let's get it going. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Honor Bound Fit?
Yeah, so Honor Bound Fit, it's a local gym here in Fredericksburg. We're just off the Stafford Airport exit near the Amazon Distribution Center. And it's a strength and conditioning gym. Appreciate you bringing up the website there.
Yep.
It feels a little like CrossFit sometimes. We're not a CrossFit gym. In fact, we call it CrossFit Rehab because we're fixing a lot of CrossFit athletes. But we consider ourselves a whole health gym, right? Our youngest member is 13. Our oldest member is 68. And we started it as a place to be. I think one of the hardest things about being a veteran is that you exit the military and you lose your tribe and you lose your purpose. Absolutely. Right. And so we wanted this gym to feel like a tribe. And, we've got a 65-foot flag hanging in the back. We've got our core values to the left of that. We've got an Iraqi-style security post on top of our office, complete with a replica 50 cal and a guard standing post. So it feels very vet bro, very rah-rah Americana. But we joke because we wanted it to be a place specifically for veterans. But about once a week, we look at each other and we're not a women's gym because about 95% of the people working out with us most of the time are women. And we love that. We're very humbled by it. We're honored, right, that they feel comfortable and they love working out with us here. We started rucking last year because we wanted to introduce our members to rucking. And so we started this progressive series where once a month we go on a ruck as a gym and it's open to everybody. Anybody can join us. But we start with about 6 miles in the spring and we add 3 or 4 miles every month until we get up to 22 miles in November for GUIDON22.
Nice.
And we've got about 30 members now and we're rolling right along. And Keith is able to pursue his dream of coaching people for a living, and he's still doing his big boy job, but hopefully we'll be able to get him out of that soon.
Yeah, so we were kind of talking about this, getting into, and we'll get a little bit more into it, but so I think, like you said, a lot of people lose that mission and that purpose when they get out. I know I did. I tried a couple of different VFWs, a couple of motorcycle clubs, and I found the same thing. It's just not the same as, being with that same group of people. Yeah, it's cool dealing with older vets and stuff like that, but, it's different missing those people that same age, the same close-knit group that you have. And so I'm glad that y'all found that, because I think a lot of people will agree that fitness is probably one of the biggest factors when it comes to veterans and continuing that mission. Some of them become sediment, drinking and heavy addictions, things like that. So, like you said, offering a place that is almost like that military, almost like that, camp of workout brotherhood and everything. That's great. Let me ask you this. For those that, I don't know, maybe can't come to the gym or they don't want to be around the people, but they're trying to get fit, you got any techniques or advice or anything for even those people that can sit at home and keep fit, keep exercising?
Well, you can't sit at home and get fit.
You know what I mean?
I will say, part of the symbolism behind GUIDON22, that GUIDON, right, is the GUIDON. Before we had modern communications, before we had radios on the battlefield, each unit had their GUIDON, their battle standard, and that's how the OG way of saying, I'm here, I've got your six. Right. And there's responsibility with the GUIDON as well. When you see a change of command ceremony, one commander passes it off to the next, and it represents their unit, but it also represents that responsibility. We believe that it's so unfortunate that the status quo among a lot of the veterans now, or the military members becoming veterans, is, I'm going to use my DD-214 as rolling paper. I'm going to play video games and collect my disability check, and I'm just going to hang out and relax for the rest of my life. And it's one thing to decompress, but that's the quickest way to isolation, is to just check out, right? And so I would encourage you not to sit at home on the couch and try to do it on your own. Find a community locally, whether it's a gym or I believe you're involved with the Reverend Warriors. I'm on the local leadership team here in Fredericksburg. The VFW is still around. There's plenty of organizations to get involved with. In terms of fitness, I mean, there's fitness all over YouTube if you're trying to do it by yourself. Just find some that makes sense and isn't too off the wall. Yeah.
I hear you. But, for those maybe listening that, man, I don't want to go to the gym and work out around all these people. But, it's not just going there and working out and, maybe I'm doing this right, maybe I'm doing it wrong, somebody's staring at me. It's also about bringing those people back together, right? And do y'all, so let me ask you, between the workouts, do y'all get together and just check on each other and see how everybody's doing and stuff like that?
Yeah. So one thing that makes us a whole lot different than most gyms is, I think one of the things that a lot of gyms count on is you not showing up, right? I think Planet Fitness is built on that model.
Yeah.
They charge $10 a month because at $10 a month, you don't care enough to show up, right? They'd rather you not show up so they don't have to maintain the gear. They don't have to hire as many staff, et cetera, et cetera. We want you here. And, Keith, he's amazing about contacting those people. If you're not showing up when you typically show up, we're going to reach out to you and say, hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. You doing all right? And I think that separates us quite a bit from most gyms. But the other things is getting outside of the gym and doing things outside of the gym as well, right? Like the rucks, like going to festivals and meeting people at, chili cook-off or Oktoberfest or whatever. We definitely, when we say we have a tribe within our gym, it definitely feels like a tribe.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think everybody needs, we always keep saying this, but everybody needs that group of people that they can count on. And like I said, I tried that with VFW's motorcycle clubs. It wasn't until recently when I found the post I'm at currently, they have a bit of a younger leadership team, and these guys are more about we cut out the smoking, right? It upset a lot of the older guys, but the younger crowd, we're not into that, and so it feels more of a home, guys that you can chat with and hang out with and check on each other, and we do that all the time through text messages and whatnot. But yeah, I think that is one of the biggest things of when people come to thinking about suicides, it's because they think that nobody cares about me. Nobody's out there anymore. I'm all alone. But it's places like this gym. It's like GUIDON22. It's like some VFWs and stuff. It gives everybody a place to go to that people actually care. And people do care, man. We don't want to see anybody take their own life, right? We want everybody to come out. So, let's talk about that group. Let's get into GUIDON22. Tell us what that is exactly.
Yeah, so it started, like I said, we wanted to introduce our members to rucking. We wanted to progressively increase their capabilities. And so we needed a goal. Last year, December 22nd was on a Sunday. So we said, all right, on December 22nd, we're going to ruck with 22 pounds for 22 miles. That's what we were working towards. And it was a great event. I did a couple of things that maybe you might think are unorthodox. One of them is that we stop about every 3 miles, so about every hour, because we're moving at a 3 mile an hour pace. And we'd let people hydrate, fix their gear, have snacks, whatever. But then before we'd start walking again, I'd read the story of a veteran who had taken their life and how it affected their family and how it affected their community. And so the people who normally might have given up at 15 or 18 miles, you read a story like that and you feel it. There's some catharsis in that pain. And so they said, you know what, I'm not hurting that bad. I can go another 3 miles. And so we started with 37 last year and we finished with 35. And those two that had to drop out, it was only because they hadn't done enough research before the event to know that we were moving at a 3 mile an hour pace to try to make it accessible to everybody. They thought it was going to be more like a Air Force or Army ruck where you're doing it for time and you're trying to get it done as quickly as possible. And so they didn't allot enough time. So last year we had 37 participate, 35 finished. We're trying to step up our game and I'm aiming to have at least 200 participants this year. I wanted that 37. We were very grateful and honored to have those people with us, but I want that to feel like a range walk this year.
Right. So explain this for people that maybe don't know. What is a ruck exactly? Where's that come from?
Yeah, rucking is just it's walking with a weighted backpack on purpose, right? Its earliest roots are most likely hunting, right? We used to have to kill our meat and carry it miles back to a campsite or a village or whatever, and so you figured out how to move that meat, right? And nowadays, the military is pretty heavily involved in rucking. Different branches may call it different things, but it's hiking. And when we do it on urban terrain. But it's just a hike, and we do it at 3 miles to 3.5 miles an hour. Some people do it with the same amount of weight or less, but they try to do it a little quicker, and that's fine. But for us, we want to get you into zone 2 cardio and keep you there. And that means that you can almost kind of have a conversation while you're moving, maybe get out of breath here or there. But, the idea is to be able to have that camaraderie, have that fun, and be around people who, want to be there for the same reasons that you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but as far as I know, the Navy doesn't have rucks. we don't do all that marching. It's
well, you can only walk so
ship.
far.
There's only so far to go.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. However, those sea bags that we do have to carry do get pretty dang heavy. So a lot more than that 22 pounds, but we're not carrying them that far. So looking here, you got a couple of different options here. So do you have to be a veteran to join this, or is it open to civilians?
No, and I love Irreverent Warriors, but that's one of the big differences between us and them is that Irreverent Warriors hikes are strictly for veterans, and they do that for a lot of good reasons. They wanted to, they love the gallows humor and that type of camaraderie. But we want it to be as approachable and open to everyone who gives a shit, right? If you want to come out for this event, we want you to feel like you can participate. And so, our target audience is veterans and first responders, but we also want to open it up, especially to those families who have lost somebody.
There you go.
But we want anybody who wants to come out, we want to encourage you to participate. Yeah. We do that by having logistics vehicles and emergency vehicles and stops every 3 miles and all the things. So we would encourage everybody to at least try. But if you can't make it, there's no shame in stopping at 15 miles and using one of the logistics vehicles we provide to get back to your vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, some groups keep it to the veterans, but I'm glad that y'all open it up because, you know, in some of my discussions I have with people, when a veteran commits suicide, it's not just him that is lost, right? It's also the family and the friends and everybody around him that is dealing with that loss. So
It's like a virus.
Right, exactly. So by y'all opening it up, you know, maybe their brother wants to come in and ruck, you know, for his name or his father or whoever. So, you know, I'm kind of
Yeah. So I said earlier that every 3 miles last year, I read the story of a veteran that took their life and how it affected their family and how it affected their community. This year, another way that we're trying to step up our game is that I don't plan to read any stories this year. We've invited family members of veterans who have taken their lives to come out and tell their own story and how it affected their family and their community.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely going to be hard hitting because, you know, again, it's not just that one. I think I was reading a story and you're affecting, what was it, 35, 40 people every time somebody commits suicide just because of all the things that has to go on afterwards. So,
well, people get caught up in the details of, you know, the number means something to a lot of us, right? And it's significant, but it does fluctuate every year. And I think the last statistic from 2023 was 17 and a half a day. But when you add in those first responders, firefighters, law enforcement, EMTs, it's well over 23 a day. And to me, that's just the home team, right? We wouldn't have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan if we didn't have somebody here to take care of our family and know that they were safe, right? So I view that as the home team, and they're just as important as we are. Yeah. And, you know, we may be leading the charge, but their numbers are up there too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, you know, a lot of times spouses or children that feel lost from their parents or whoever, you know, they can't deal with it anymore. And unfortunately, it happens more and more often these days. And I think what goes into it is just education, right, around veteran suicide, around mental health. It's not just about educating the veterans. It's about educating the family and the friends and everybody else that's around somebody, because it takes more than just one person to see the signs, right? Somebody might not see the signs and then somebody else will. So, you know, it takes everybody. But let's take another quick break, and then we'll get back into the conversation and probably about wrap things up for the evening. So we'll be right back, all right?
I'm about as far as I'm going. Welcome home. I'm sure your family and all your friends are going to be glad to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Walking these old dirt road side streets, looking at the sights and reminiscing, wondering what's changed since I've been gone. I'm coming home. It's like yesterday that I left here. Time flies and now it's been years, but I know this is where I belong.
Hey, Grandpa.
I'm coming home. Coming home to the family, the friends and the memories, the ones I love and the ones I regret. Coming back to make a new life, built on the one I left behind. Thank God it wasn't over yet. We're not made to live this life alone, so I'm coming home. Fear almost stopped me from returning. I Others won't forgive the bridges burning, but I'm planning to rebuild what is gone now that I'm home. And I know it won't be the same that it was, but that's okay, 'cause I will always love this place and the ones who call it home. Yeah, that's my home. Coming home to the family, friends and the memories, the ones I love and the ones I regret. Coming back to make a new life, built on the one I left behind. Thank God it wasn't over yet. When I made to live this life alone, so I'm coming home. When I made to live this life alone, so I'm coming home.
Welcome back to Full Speed Ahead After Battle. Again, I am your host, Josh McCabe. With me tonight is Rich Brown. Thanks for tuning in. If you're just now tuning in, Rich is from the is in the Marine Corps. He is a gym owner. He's GUIDON22, all kinds of stuff, veteran suicide advocate. Also, he is what I think is kind of cool. I've never actually met anybody that's done this, but executive protection. So, you mentioned that a little bit before, but can you kind of, talk to us about that business of yours, executive protection? Is it all glitz and glamour like it is on TV, protecting celebrities? I mean, it looks like a cool job to me, but what do I know?
It can be a lot of fun, especially if you like going on adventures, right? So,
Okay.
if you're fortunate enough to, be on an RST, a residential security and transport team, you'd be close to home base a lot. Hours typically suck regardless of what you're doing. But a lot of it requires a lot of travel and a very, very dynamic schedule. And so if you're a young guy coming right out of the military, or gal, the industry needs more women really bad. But if you're coming out of the military and you have no wife and no kids, it's probably a great thing to look at if you want to go on those kind of adventures. Yeah, I've worked with some celebrities. I'm probably not going to name them. I've worked with 10 times more modest CEOs that you've probably never heard of, who probably don't even think they need security, but their board of directors says they do. And so I'm very fortunate that they do, because we get to make a living doing it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of travel, a lot of the work for executive protection is done behind the scenes, right? You typically associate being a bodyguard with the guy who's at arm's length at all times, the guy who's no more than one arm's distance away at all times. But there are plenty of people behind the scenes. A lot of the work is done well before the principal ever shows up on scene, right? So if I know that my principal is going to be speaking at a conference at a hotel in Washington, D.C. or wherever, I'm going to start doing a whole lot of homework well before that event, including before I ever leave wherever home base is. I'm going to start looking online. Okay, we're at this hotel, so where's the nearest fire department? Where's the nearest hospital with a trauma center? All that type of stuff is done well before. And then I may show up a week or 2 weeks or a couple of days before my principal ever travels there, so that I can get eyes on the scene and know where all the exits are, where all the emergency assets are, make connections with the security for the hotel. All those things are done. It's not just being prepared to take a bullet or something like that.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot goes into it. So what is the biggest misconception about executive work like that?
Yeah, I would think the biggest misconception is that it's all celebrities and it's all arm's length distance, right? But I think most of the work in this country is actually done for CEOs, for high net worth individuals, not necessarily just celebrities.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I would say, a lot of guys, you may think that you can't get into this work because you have tattoos or because you have, I don't know, some type of record or whatever. But it really depends on the principal, right? If you want to work for a rock star or a rapper or some type of celebrity like that, they probably don't want somebody who looks like a choir boy. You may not fit in with their entourage, right? And so tattoos on your face may get you the job as opposed to prevent you from getting the job, if it was for a Fortune 500 CEO. The other thing to consider is that if you have some type of niche, right, some skill that a lot of people don't have, if your principal likes to go snowboarding, well, you better learn how to snowboard. Or if you have that as a skill set, it might help you get the job, or horseback riding, or whatever rich people do, right? If they like to do it and you need to be close by, then the fact that you have that skill may help you get that job, and you should learn how to advertise that if you want to go into that industry.
Okay. That sounds amazing. So when are you open up the office in North Texas so I can get in on that?
I probably won't open an office in North Texas, but I can help you make those connections. I know some people in that area.
All right. Yeah, I might have to make that work. I might have a new calling if I can fit in with, like, I don't know, ZZ Top or Oak Ridge Boys or something. They could use a little bit of protection, right, man?
Right.
So let me ask you a question. You do a lot of, like you said, you do a lot of protection, both in the military, outside of the military. So how does your combat experience translate into keeping people safe in civilian life, whether it's in your executive protection skills or just in general? Because, I mean, let's face it, it's almost to the point where you can't go to the gas station anymore, or Walmart or church, as we just seen, because you don't know what's out there and what's going to happen. It could be the most random person at the most random time. So, how does that work for you? What would you give your advice to people on, what to look out for when going in public anymore, or, just how does that help you, your combat experience?
Well, I think the first thing is, if you've been overseas, the expression "find work," right? As soon as you clear a building, the first thing you need to do is find a responsibility before someone tells you what to do. I need to find, the door that needs to be covered, the window that needs to be covered, is somebody on the roof, et cetera, et cetera. So that mentality goes a long way into providing security, whether that's for a place or a person or whatever. The other thing I think a lot of people should consider is, I'm a gun rights guy. I am never going to waver from that, but I take issue with the guys who are severely overweight and, their love handles cover up their holster, so they're concealed carrying whether they want to or not. But they want to be a hero, right? And so they carry a gun everywhere they go, but they've never taken the time to do any type of first aid, CPR, or critical life-saving skills. You have a much better chance of saving the day when grandpa chokes at the Thanksgiving dinner table than you ever do to stop a shooter, right? And so figure out where those weaknesses in your skill set are and work on those, right? It's not just about carrying a gun and being a badass. there are plenty of ways to save the day.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, especially coming from Texas where, constitutional carry and everything is like everybody's carrying one, whether you see it or not, right? And like the saying is everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. But when you're in that robbery in the gas station, you're 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to act right. You're not going to do what's necessary. And then it's all about the aftermath. It's not so much as the incident. It's the aftermath. It's the police. It's the everything that goes down afterwards. And if you haven't been in combat and you haven't taken a life, and this is your first time taking that life in an incident, it weighs on you, right? It's not just as simple as, I stopped it and now it's done, right? So, yeah, I'm with you. Even if you're just carrying because you think it's cool or you want to protect people, take the classes. There's a lot of different classes that are out there. Local law enforcement put them on. Just all that. Just be trained, right?
Well, like I said, I'll never not be a gun rights guy. I would encourage everyone to learn how to protect themselves, whether that's with their hands or another tool or whatever. But if you think you want to be prepared to put holes in somebody, I hope you've also prepared to plug those holes first.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you on that one wholeheartedly. There's so many factors that go into that, and I don't want to get into it, but yeah, if you're going to do the damage, you need to be willing to take care of the first aid and the aftermath as well. So let me ask you this: we got a few minutes left. We're going to kind of wrap up with this question, I think, and what I like to ask people. The whole point of this show is for anyone listening, whether they're veteran, civilian, whatever, first-time listener, if somebody's struggling with purpose, they don't know what to do, whether it's coming out of the military or, before getting out of the military, what's the first step that you would recommend that they take to keep going, to find that purpose?
Well, you said you've asked a lot of your guests this. I don't know if they've ever given the same answer, but my answer is always the same. And it's one of our 14 core values at Honor Bound Fit, and that's be useful. It's the simplest, 2-word core value we have, but I think it carries a lot of weight, right? Because if you're feeling like you don't provide value to your family or your community, they'd be better off without you, et cetera, et cetera. The first thing you need to do is start looking outside of yourself, look to those people to your left and right, and find a way to be useful to them. It's just like the special operations selection schools, right? They say that the guy who is jacked and looks like a NFL linebacker and so on is not the guy who always makes it through. That's not the guy who always makes it. The guy who almost always makes it is the guy who, when things get hard, he looks to the people on his left and right and he says, "How are you doing? How can I help you?" Et cetera. We're going to get through this together, because it's reciprocal, right? It's like a hug. You can't hug somebody without getting a hug in return. And so there's power in that, right? And so find a way to be useful in your community. Again, back to GUIDON22 and that GUIDON. Again, we think there's kind of an epidemic of this mindset that I'm just going to check out from society and, disconnect and play video games or whatever. But that's not the person who stood on the yellow footprints. That's not the guy or gal who rose their right hand and swore to defend the Constitution. So find that spirit again within you. Find something in your community to rally around. Be a role model to your community. Pick up your GUIDON and lead.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. I don't even know how to answer that one. I don't know how to move on, because that is a great ending statement, man. Find a way to be useful. Find a way to move on. It's not just about you. Yeah, remember the person that you were when you signed up, when you went to boot camp, what you joined for, whether it was 9/11 or patriotism or it's the family thing to do. Just remember, you're still that same person. You may have changed with experience in the military. You may have gained some knowledge and leadership skills, but deep down in the core, you're still that same person that signed up. You got a little bit more experience now. Before we wrap up tonight, Rich, I appreciate you coming on, man. You're doing so many good things out there for our veterans. And, I do the show. I do a lot of other things, but, it takes a whole village to talk about the veteran suicide, mental health. So thank you for doing what you do out there. Any last second words, mission statements, anything from you?
No, I'd hope that if you're listening to this, you consider coming out in November and taking a walk with me. Right. We try to make it approachable to everybody. We're probably going to find some type of award for the person who travels the furthest to come out for the event. So if you can't support by coming out and showing up and buying a $22 ticket. Oh, by the way, all the ticket sales go to a local nonprofit called Heroes Bridge. Really cool nonprofit out in Manassas, Virginia. They're taking care of those aging veterans from Vietnam and Korea and so on. Wow. It's a really cool nonprofit organization. That's who we give the money to from the ticket sales. But if you want to support it and you can't buy a ticket, we have GUIDON22 shirts on our website. We're using that money to help spread the word and facilitate the event and that kind of thing.
All right, y'all. Everybody out there listening, you heard it, GUIDON22. You can find it on the website. I shared it in the links. We'll be sharing it some more, I'm sure, because that's a great cause. Get out there. Like you said, you don't have to be a veteran. You can be first responder, civilian, anybody. Get out there, do that ruck. It's work. It's worth it. Put into it. But Rich, again, I appreciate you being on tonight, and I look forward to seeing how you do with things and talking to you in the future, man.
I appreciate you, Josh. Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple minutes left here on Monday night, Full Speed Ahead. I appreciate you tuning in. Again, real quick, I keep getting told by the powers to be, I always forget this. Follow us on NBR Radio at the top, all that stuff up there. You see it. Follow me on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Facebook page, Instagram. Send in the stars. Something about those helps raise some money on here. All the money we raise goes back into the veterans across the nation, across the world. This is, we do NBR reach worldwide. So we do help veterans all over the place. It helps us get into the community more. But you heard from Rich tonight. Great man. He's got his hands in a lot of different things. He's doing a lot of good. Work out. That's one thing that everybody needs to be doing. It's not just about getting up and staying fit. It's about keeping your mind active and off of those demons. It's a great way to get to know other people. Sit down and chat with them. GUIDON22. If that's not in your location, find something similar. Get in those groups. But like Rich said, I can't say anything else. Be useful. Reach out to your buddies. Make sure they're doing okay. Not even just the buddies. Reach out to their families. Make sure the families are doing okay. And like I always say when I sign off every Monday night, I'll see you next week. We got another great person coming up. I'll put that out tomorrow. But don't forget, you're not in this alone, people. Reach out. My messages are always open. You can email me. You can email NB Radio. Somebody will talk to you. But you're not in this fight alone. All right? There's people out there. Reach out to them. It's never too late. You're not in this alone. Another episode of Full Speed Ahead next Monday, 7 Central. I'll see you there. Y'all have a great week, and talk to you later, battle buddies. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.